Do you know what? These questions come in and you think, oh yeah, I know the answers to these. These are going to be easy.
Books and coffee, that's all I need. Lost in a world of fantasy. Oh, indeed, from sci-fi thrillers to romance tales and horror stories that make me wail.
Hello lovelies, I'm Hermit and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this channel is a reading channel primarily. My content is mostly bookish, but with a little sprinkling of physical and mental health, getting to know myself kind of stuff. You're welcome to stick around by clicking that subscribe button below, and if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe even share with a friend. Today's video is a very exciting video for me. This will be going live on my Booktube birthday. I will be 1 year old and I'm very excited about this because I started my channel on the 4th of February 2024 and honestly I didn't know where it was going to go, how long it was going to last. I had tried this before and it just didn't stick, and yeah, I didn't know. I was just going with the flow and hoping for the best, and yeah, so I'm still here a year later and hopefully for at least another year. As a little celebration, I thought I'd do my first Q&A because I've never done a Q&A, because the fact that people have asked me questions has literally blown my mind. I shared on my community tab if anyone has any questions for my Q&A. I got a few there and I also got a few on Instagram. So I'm going to go with, where shall we start? We'll start with YouTube because that's where I live, people. That's where I live. Okay, so my first question from @Jen497 asked, when did you get into reading and do you remember what book started your love of reading? So this is an interesting one, and I sort of have answered this way back when on my Booktuber newbie tag, which was my first ever video. I will link it in the description box below if you want to cringe watch it. I think in that one, I think I talked about like Sweet Valley High and stuff being that's the first sort of series that I remember reading and being completely addicted. And I have reread it as, not the whole series, just a couple of them as an adult, and they have not aged well, but they really got me into reading as a teenager. But actually thinking about it now, I think it was probably way before that, and it was probably Spot books. I will pop a cover of one on the screen for you to see, because I don't know if this is a series that is like known outside of the UK. I loved Spot books when I was very young. I was lucky enough that my mum taught me to read before I even got to school, which kind of helped me out a lot because I'm also dyslexic, and if I'd learnt to read at school, what often happens to children learning to read with dyslexia in school is that they see everyone else being able to do it very easily, and it kind of builds up walls and kind of makes it even harder to learn to do, whereas I learned that before I learned to be afraid of it, if that makes sense. So I think that's really where it all sort of stems from. So I basically, from when I was born, I would say, and I basically lived in the library. I thought of myself as Matilda for quite a while.
A bold claim.
Anyway, that was way more of an answer than you even asked for. At Donna Marie Reads, hey Donna, quack, asks, would you rather only read the first page of a book or just the last page of a book? I think I would need... My initial instinct there was the last page because I need answers, but then you don't always get answers. And that's sometimes okay for me. So maybe just the first page. No, I'm going to stick with initial, my last page. Let me know in the comments what would you only read the first page or only read the last page if you had to? Let me know. And next question from Donna was, how many books would you say you own? I can answer that quite specific. Oh no, I can't answer that specifically. Would I say I own? Okay, so on my unread, and this includes ebooks and audio. I have 304 on that list, and that's just the unreads, but I have many more that I have read. So I would estimate between 500 and 600. What do you think, Matt?
Well,
my owned books. How many?
Right, I think,
yeah. Okay. So I think in the realm of 500 to 600. So I'm getting closer to a library. Donna also asks, what is the book that changed or influenced you the most? Now, I know that Donna is expecting me to say The Starless Sea on this one, which is a highly influential book for me. But realistically, I think I'm going to have to go with two. I know you only asked for one, but I need to share two. Okay, so we've got Gender Euphoria. I read this early last year sometime. I am non-binary, and I've only sort of in the last couple of years started really understanding that about myself, and really allowing myself to explore my gender, my sexuality, and just really key things about myself that I've spent most of my life not allowing myself to even contemplate. So yeah, this was the first book that I read. I've read a few books around gender. However, this was the first one that really allowed me to see that it's okay, and that I can still be happy, and that there's joy and freedom in accepting the whole of who you are. So yeah, so that's that one. And then second is Body Happy Kids by Molly Forbes. This one, if you've been around on my channel for a while, you may know that I lived with an eating disorder for a massive part of my life. I have a much healthier relationship with food and movement, exercise, whatever you want to call it, these days. And Body Happy Kids was not the first book that I read around the impact of disordered thoughts around food and exercise, but it directly relates that to childhood. So I was reading it as an adult, as a parent, but also recognizing that the patterns that formed very early in my childhood that informed the route that my life ended up taking around my relationship with food and exercise. But also it hit home the things that I continue to do as a parent that may also influence my child's future relationship around food and exercise. So it kind of had that double impact, I guess, and really helped me to understand as much of the consequences of some of the actions we take as a parent, not intending anything negative at all. We try as parents to get our children to eat healthily and eat well and things like that, but the impact of that can sometimes go the other way. It helped me to understand that in a way that I didn't feel judged for it, if that makes sense. So I highly recommend that if that is something that is interesting to you. Next we have Jodie. We love Jodie around here. Jodie asks, what made you go into booktubing? Okay, so I as you can tell, I love books, I love reading, I love collecting, I love talking about them. What made me decide to go launch this channel was partly because I found this community and I felt comfortable to start trying to make friends for the first time in a long time. And I wanted to have that creative outlet. I wanted to have a space that was safe for me, but also safe for others, and build that community, build friendships, real friendships with people. And okay, it's a majority of it is online, and that has its own challenges. I have mental health conditions that I have talked about at various points of during my channel, and I've never successfully had friendships for an extended period of time. Like, I don't have friends from childhood like a lot of people do. I know a lot of people also don't, but like I just, partly through actions on my part, because part of my mental health means that I am really terrified of rejection. But the response to that is to reject others before they reject me. So that has not helped with friendships. It has meant that I overshare in the beginning, like I give you everything in the beginning and then I back off because I get scared. And these are patterns that I recognise in myself now that hopefully I can overcome. And I mean, some of you have been friends of mine for a year now, and that is amazing to me. It's very hard for me to understand that people like me. So yeah, it's kind of just one of them that I just have to deal with. And a big part of my channel is so that I can keep trying. Because I'm posting videos and I'm doing live sprints, I have to be here, so I have to keep going, and I don't want to burn the bridges that I build with people. So it's kind of one of them, like it's kind of a way to get myself through that process, if that makes any sense outside of my head. Another question from Jodie: if you could go into any book, which one would it be? I'm just going to be predictable on this one, and I'm going to say The Starless Sea. I love that book so much. The world in that is just so dreamy and magical to me, and the underground library is literally my dream. Jodie also asks, what is the best and worst thing about Booktube? Haha, okay, we're edging into potentially, I need to be careful what I say here.
Dun dun dun.
So the best thing about Booktube for me, I don't know if I can choose between two things. Primarily it's the friendships and the people. You guys are what keep me here, keep me coming back. So thank you for that, by the way. If I don't say it, I mean that every single moment. And the other thing is having that creative outlet. I didn't think I'd love it, but I really enjoy editing videos. It takes so much time, don't get me wrong. I'm loving learning about editing. It's just really interesting to me. And I get a lot of that feeling of accomplishment from it. The worst thing for me is the clickiness that is in some groups within. There are some friendship groups within this community that are very clicky, and like to your face, they'll be very friendly and they'll even call you friend, but the action isn't there behind the word, kind of thing. And it did have, there was a moment, there was a couple of months there last year that I thought I'd made a mistake, that I wasn't where I was supposed to be, which was wrong, because I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm not going to be frightened off by people that don't like me, or maybe just feel indifferent to me. It's not my responsibility to know that, but it's kind of one of them things, like I see it happening, and it makes me uncomfortable. That is, on the flip side, I also want to make it clear that even these groups that are quite clicky to me, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, they are not bad people, they are not bad booktubers, they are not bad anything, in my opinion. It's just, I guess, the way of the world that I'm kind of realising and figuring out. So two things can be true. I can feel uncomfortable with certain ways of people, of groups of people, and also recognise that that's not a bad thing in general. It's just something that I need to work out how to be around, if that makes sense. So it is very much, it's the worst thing for me, but it's not the worst thing, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes any sense outside of my head. Okay, next we have Renee, the Librarian of Alexandria. What would your dream bookish day be? Or if you could create a book festival, what would it be? Okay, I like these questions, guys. I really like these questions. My dream bookish day is, I would just have coffee. I would have... Okay, are we really fully going for the dream here, Renee? The dream, because the dream is not possible, realistically. So the unrealistic dream is that when I feel like I need to be outside, I just think about it and I'm all cozy in a chair with a blanket and my book and my coffee in the middle of the woods, or wherever it is that I feel like I need to be. So that's the unrealistic one. The realistic one is probably just not having any responsibility for the day and just literally having food, coffee, my books, comfy chair, cozy blanket, the standard. And actually my unrealistic dream is probably part of that would be being in the library in the Starless Sea. Obviously, I've already mentioned that. So. And the lovely Elmo asks, what would your dream reading setup be? Okay, so I almost have it. Honestly, I almost have it. My desk area. Only thing about my current setup that isn't great for me is this chair. It really isn't comfortable, and it sets off a lot of pain. I have some physical health conditions that mean that I deal with pain a lot anyway, but this chair is quite not great for that. So I would have a chair that maybe is more comfortable for long term, because short term this is fine, but if I'm sprinting like today, I'll be in this chair a lot today, so it is, by the end of the day, I'm going to be in a lot of pain. And Renee, who is our team leader, team host, readathon leader, Get a Clue Readathon, asks, if you could meet any bookish author, who would it be? I really should have thought about these answers before filming, right? I'm going to be a bit of a basic and say Brandon Sanderson. I would probably cry. I'm relatively new to Brandon Sanderson's books, but I'm obsessed. But then I've just started Wheel of Time and I'm kind of obsessed with that too. So obviously Robert Jordan's dead, but if I'm saying any bookish author, maybe it could be Robert Jordan. Oh, Chuck Tingle. Oh my gosh. Oh. Do you know what? There's probably quite a lot, isn't there? If you could meet any bookish author, I'm gonna pick Brandon Sanderson. Terry Pratchett, Paul Tremblay, oh my god, Kaylin Bayron. Oh geez, I don't know.
One eternity later.
Okay, I'm going to go with the one that I don't think I'll ever have the opportunity, and I'm going to stick with Brandon Sanderson. Rainey also asks, if you could only take 3 books with you on a deserted island, what would they be? Obviously the Starless Sea, no brainer, I would take that. Next, I think Rainey, you'll be quite happy with this choice. I think I would take Serpent and the Wings of Night, just because that is such a good book for like escaping the world and just like fully immersing in a different world, if that makes sense. Just like the Starless Sea. For me, it has like, it's not a similar vibe book at all, but in terms of how I read it as a reader, it's very similar vibes, if that makes sense outside of my head. And probably, you know what? Is it a deserted island? Yes, it is a deserted island. So I would take Call of the Sea, because that book is very well placed, as in the setting of it is very well placed for a deserted island. And there's definitely a key moment in that book. That is on a beach. Creepy Creeperson over here is moving on to the next question. Renee also asks, a book you think everyone should read? That's an interesting question there, Renee. You're challenging me today. I've got it down to 3. I'm sorry, I can't. 4. I'm doing 4. Okay, I'm doing 4. You asked for 1, I'm doing 4. Okay, so the first 2 are, and for the reason that I said earlier, I'm going to pick Gender Euphoria and Body Happy Kids, specifically for this question. I'm going to say Sociopath by Patrick Gagney and Monsters by Claire Dederer. This one is, I've got a video of this on my channel if you want to know more about this book. It is a non-fiction, as you can see. I have tabbed the hell out of it. And it is about what we do with great art by bad people. And this is like a thing that I think about a lot, being a booktuber, and what I want to promote on my channel and what I don't and things like that. And it is very hard to have a very clear thought process on this one. So I found this really interesting, but also really, it kind of opened my mind up to thought processes that I wouldn't have had without this. So I think that's really important to have in particular a non-fiction book. And then Sociopath by Patrick Gagne. This one is, Patrick Gagne is a diagnosed sociopath, but she is also a fully trained psychologist, I think, that has gone into research, and I think she teaches as well. On the back it says, I'm a criminal without a record. I'm a master of disguise. I have never been caught. I have rarely been sorry. I am friendly. I'm responsible. I'm invisible. I blend right in. I am a 21st century sociopath. And I've written this book because I know I'm not alone. So this, I don't have a sociopathy, but I do have a mental health condition that people are afraid of as a general rule, that people have a very specific idea of what I'm supposed to be. Goes into what sociopathy is from both the experience of it, but also from the psychology side of things. It also shares information that I think we don't have access to generally. And it shows us that two things can be true at the same time. You can not have, you can not be sorry for things, but at the same time lead a good life still. You can still be a good friend. You can still be part of communities. You can still be a good part of society. You don't, it's about what you learn to do with your set of challenges. That is all of the questions that I got on my community tab. Thank you so much anyone who answered on there. And now we are going to move over to Instagram. So over on Instagram we have FK, who asks, what has been the most surprising thing that happened in your first year on Booktube? Making friends. Obviously that was the goal, but the fact that it's happened is a huge surprise to me. Also, another massive surprise to me was the fact that I can edit videos. That is a huge surprise to me. I started off my channel with Matt editing all of my videos for me, which I highly appreciate, because I probably wouldn't have started when I did if I'd had to edit them myself. But having that sort of slow step into it kind of thing really did help with that, and gave me that opportunity to sort of like learn as I go kind of thing. I think I'm getting pretty good at it. Considering how short a period of time I've been editing my own videos for, I think I'm doing okay. I would still like to improve though, so that's what I plan to do in this next year. Next we have Coffee Over Apples. All of these people that have asked questions that also have channels, I will pop them in the description box so you can check them out. Please do so. Steff over at Coffee Over Apples, can't speak clearly, asks, if you could reread any book for the first time again, what would it be? Again, I'm going to be predictable and say The Starless Sea. There are lots of books that I would like to reread for the first time again, but honestly I'm kind of lucky because my memory's so shot that if I leave a book long enough and I read it again, it comes pretty close to reading it for the first time again. So not with The Starless Sea, because I've read it that many times now, it's kind of imprinted, but generally speaking. And Courtney over at Tangible Reads asks, if you could recommend one book to your all-time favourite person, who would it be and what's the book? All-time favourite person. Doesn't stipulate whether this person is like a celebrity type person or a person, just any person. Courtney. Well, my all-time favourite person in general is Matt. He's not my favourite person today, but generally speaking, he's my favourite person, okay? What book? What book would I make you? I'd probably make you read The Starless Sea. Okay, so it's going to be Matt, and I'm going to get him to read The Starless Sea. Thanks for that question, Courtney. That was fun. Tamlyn Michelle Designs, who, might I add, does the best bookmarks ever, so check them out in the description box below, asks, what book world would you live in if you had the opportunity and why? Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just on repeat. I'm so sorry, guys, but it's the Starless Sea. It's the only world I think I could survive, honestly. I read a lot of dark stuff, so I'd probably be the first one dead or maimed or locked up. Yeah, okay, I've answered why, because I'd survive it. Jen also asks, what surprised you the most about being a booktuber? I guess technically I've already answered that, haven't I? But it is the making friends and the editing, being able to edit. Like I didn't know I was capable of that, honestly. And then finally, Jen also asks, what do you now know that you wish you had known then? I'm assuming that's related to Booktube. I think it's going back to the clickiness with some groups. Honestly, I feel like that's the thing I kind of wish that I'd sort of known going into it. Now I feel a bit silly because I feel like it's kind of part of human nature to some degree. Obviously, you can choose not to be clicky, but I think when you're just living your life, it's very easy to fall into that clicky nature. I feel like it's quite natural in some ways, but I do wish I'd noticed it and spotted it before I'd emotionally attach myself to people that maybe I was wasting my energy with. I feel really harsh saying that, honestly. I don't mean that as any disrespect or negativity on the people, which I'm obviously not going to name for that reason, because I don't want people to think anything bad of these people, because I don't. It kind of feels like just a thing that happens, you know, and it's more of a learning curve for me, and there's going to be lots of them for me, as there are for everybody. That's life, isn't it? We all have learning curves. Probably the biggest one for me. I think that's it, really. I think that's the main thing. There's probably lots of little things that I just can't think of off the top of my head. Maybe I am kind of an impulsive person, so when I decide to do something, I generally just do it. I don't give myself the chance to really back out of it, if that makes sense, because I wouldn't do anything if I did that. So I kind of just have to go for it and learn on the job, which I think is perfect on YouTube, because it's kind of set up for that. And you don't have to be this amazing person on camera straight away. You don't have to be someone who knows all the technology. You don't have to have all this learning and experience before you start your channel, which just adds to the fact that I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, because I feel like I've got potential to be really good at this. I know that probably sounds a little bit like up my own butt, but I do think, like, I'm starting to realise that I do have some skills. It just takes me time to find them, if that makes sense. And I don't do things the first time very well. Again, this is something that I've learned, that in the past I would do something, it would go bad. I wouldn't be very good at it, so I just wouldn't do it again. But being here in this community has allowed me to like push through that and realise that actually, yes, okay, I don't do things great the first time. Nerves get me very easily. I struggle with my speech a lot, and things like that. But that's fine. Like, people are either going to get that about you or they're not. And that's, you know, either way, it's fine. The fact that people still want to work with me, maybe want's a strong word, but choose to work with me is kind of something that I'm taking as evidence towards the fact that pushing through is worthwhile, because not only can I see, oh, sugar. Okay, so I had to stop filming because I'm on sprints and it was the end of the sprint, and it surprised me because I did not keep track of the time properly. But I also don't remember what I was talking about, which is probably a really good thing. So if you made it this far, let's drop any celebration emoji in the comments for it being my first Booktube birthday. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you, anyone, whether you're new, whether you've been here a while, whether you've been here the whole time that I've had this channel. I really appreciate you. Yeah, and here's to hopefully an even better second year. Bye, love you.
Bye, love you.
Where's Where's my community tab gone? Posts?
Probably, yeah.
Why have they changed that?
How rude.
I can realise that. The two things can be true at this. Ooh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have coffee. So happy. Standard. Oh, that was a nice little mindful moment I had there.
Yeah.
In the middle of recording, you know, with my books, my. Okay, the dog's home. Oh, excuse you.
I'm a book hermit, part of the Booktube crew, sharing my thoughts, connecting me and you. With every page a new adventure awaits, a community bound by the love we create. Grab a cup of